All right, Detroit, Green Bay. I thought that was going to be really good, and it was almost boring. You know I like Green Bay, and I really like Jordan Love. But he looked young. They looked young. He is young. They are young, and they got humbled yesterday. It felt like Big Brother showing little brother how it's done. And Jordan Love is loose. I've always said he's more Favre than Rodgers. He's just loose. And there were passes yesterday that should have never, ever left his hand. And you can make those mistakes against the Carolinas and maybe the Bears. You can't make them against Detroit. So the Packers were really sloppy, and they usually aren't. They had 10 penalties. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone. And, you know, and what was interesting is that Detroit, and I thought this was I like Green Bay in this game. Detroit, a dome team, finally going to play outside. We looked up the weather. The weather was going to be a mess. And the Lions looked unfazed by it, and the Packers looked like they'd never played in rain before. So it was 24-3 at one point, and it felt worse. They're not even asking Jared Goff to do much. That's how good Detroit is. So Green Bay had some big plays and some big moments, but they were uneven. They were loose. And I've said this. I don't know if Green Bay feels like they're a Super Bowl team. I think in the NFL, there are steps to this stuff. There are, like last year, Green Bay hits on all these young receivers and tight ends. You're like, they're exciting. And you're like, they're kind of good. And then this year, it's like, they're still young and exciting, but I think they're really good. And maybe they could get to a conference championship. And then you watch yesterday, and you're like, yeah, they're young, they're loose, they're sloppy. You know, weather wasn't great, but Detroit handled it fine. And here's Dan Campbell after.
We're built for this, man, and it doesn't matter. And just because we play indoors, it doesn't matter, man. We can play anywhere. We can play in the snow, we can play in the rain, play in the mud. That's just us, and we're built to win.
Yeah, it's Kirby Joseph with that pick, got him a big lead. J-Mac, be honest about it. I thought this was going to be a great game. I think we both thought Green Bay at home, underdog rival game. But it was really quickly. Detroit's like, we're a year to two ahead of you. We've said this before. Niners have the best NFC roster, or Philly. Detroit has the best NFC roster that's not quite established, but maybe now established. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't been around as long as George Kittle. A lot of the Niners' great players are older, the Kittles and Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. I think Detroit's is San Francisco, but in their prime. There were a couple of holes in this game when Brady was like, look at the size of these holes for Jahmyr Gibbs to run through. And I'm talking 8 feet wide. I mean, Penei Sewell is pushing people out of the television picture. They're just different. Yeah. Detroit is just physically different than everybody else in the NFC North.
So the only reason, I picked Packers, and then for this contest I do for Vegas, I backed off when I saw Jordan Love is going to start. I'm like, I didn't love that. And would you agree, he did not look close to 100%?
No, and I thought everything, gripping the ball, the weather, a slight limp. And I think sometimes when you're not 100%, you're pressing, you're trying to play harder because you're not quite there. And it just unraveled.
Did you think they should have considered going to Malik Willis?
If I have Jordan Love, I'd go with him. But I don't think the quarterback would have mattered.
Yeah, I'm all in on LaFleur. I think he's a great coach, one of the best 6 in the league. When I saw this weather, I was like, why don't they just turn this into a ground and pound game with Malik Willis? You got a good run game with Jacobs. The Detroit Lions defense is not outstanding, Colin. We would agree on that, right?
Well, yeah, it's not. There's 2 teams in this league, Baltimore and Detroit. They're excellent. And in both instances, you don't trust the defense. And then there's a team right now, Kansas City, that is excellent at winning games. I totally trust their defense, and I also trust Mahomes and Andy Reid. So in this league right now, like yesterday, I watched Buffalo and Miami, and my take is I should have taken Miami. My take is there's still part of me that doesn't trust Buffalo in a big spot. Like they won, and I was like, okay. Tua ate them up. Tua was almost perfect.
Yeah, nothing deep down the field.
Well,
it was all check down Charlie stuff.
Well, you're moving.
Bills are going to give you that. I'm fine. We'll let you go. But the Bills were surprised, I think, by the Miami run game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're here to talk about the Packers, not the Miami run game. Okay. Yeah, listen, this is what I said going into this game, that you're not going to be able to beat the Lions if you're not 100%. That the Lions are too good of a team to kind of have this. Is Jordan Love playing? Is he not? Is he not 100%? Is he, what is it? And having your non 100% healthy quarterback go 23 for 39, have him throw 39 times, it's just too much. I know they were down and all of that, and I'm a huge Matt LaFleur fan, and I think the Packers are a great team. I just disagree with how this game was approached, right, and how it unfolded, and that was my concern going into this game, because the run game was great. 23 carries, 138 yards, 6 yards per carry. That's really good. Again, I know they were down, but the weather was sloppy. Having your quarterback throw that ball, it just doesn't really make sense. And I've defended Jordan Love's interceptions because I he's such a gamer and a playmaker, and that he thinks that he can do everything because he can. So you're going to have some interceptions, but those type of interceptions that he did, right, that I'm less forgiving of. I'm more forgiving of pushing the ball down the field, right, running all around in circles and throwing across your body 30 yards down. Like, I'm more forgiving of that. I mean, I'm not going to say that I necessarily love it, but it's an aggressive take. Coaches always say that, I'm never going to be angry at you for being aggressive, right? That's fine. But this is just like silly, right? Like, that interception that he had is more panic than aggression, right? And it's aggressiveness, I should say. And that's where I kind of draw the line for me personally. And so you do want to be able to see him kind of, get rid of that, clean that up, quite frankly. But they were moving the ball well. I mean, they had 411 total yards to the Lions 261, right? But they couldn't get it done when it was needed. They were 1-4 in the red zone, right? And then it's a missed field goal, which then gives the Lions short field, right? And giving up a pick six. And then that's how you lose 24-14, right? Like that's how it goes. But I don't know if this is necessarily, because the question is clear Green Bay isn't on Detroit's level. I'm not going to say that. The Lions proved to be a more resilient team, a healthier team, right? And you're going to see that when you're the Packers. The Packers are still at this point in their, in their team's short-term history, right? I'm looking at it just essentially from last year onward, right? I don't care about anything that happened before then. The Jordan Love era, let's call it. They are young in that regard. They're, by definition, they're going to be less resilient, right? They have only technically a second-year quarterback in terms of him actually starting and playing. So there's going to be some growing pains. And you're going to struggle when you're not fully healthy and it's rainy, the weather's bad. Like, you're not supposed to succeed and excel in those circumstances, quite frankly. You're just not. I mean, it just doesn't happen, no matter who you are. And a lot of times you need to be protected from that. So I don't think that this was the best game plan or the best approach, which is weird for me to say, because I pretty much have loved every single thing that Matt LaFleur and the Packers have done. So that's why this kind of throws me off a little bit. When I'm watching this game, I'm like, this is throwing me off. And I was already concerned when it was like, is Jordan Love going to play? Is he not? Because again, in order to beat the Lions, you have to bring your A game. You have to bring your A game, or really hope that they're not on their A game. Because if they bring their A game, you certainly have to. And this whole idea of like, well, is it going to be like Malik Willis? Is it going to be Jordan Love? Like, you need to know. You need this whole week. There's a reason why buys give teams, not only because they get a little bit of extra rest, but they get extra preparation. That's why buys are so advantageous for the team that's coming off the bye, right? And so your team needs to know, what is our game plan? Who is our quarterback? How are we attacking this? And if there's any type of lack of clarity, it's going to put you at a disadvantage. And that's what this looked like, right? That's what this looked like. And as Brady even pointed out, right, the negative plays and the Lions playing with a lead is just enough to do you in, right? And it's interesting, because I actually wrote this when I was watching this game yesterday, of course, and now I see the question that Colin says, right, clear Green Bay isn't on Detroit's level, which is actually kind of funny, because I answered this question yesterday before I even knew this question was going to be asked. I wrote, end of the day, it's not that Lions looked like the better team, just better prepared. right? That is the way how it landed on me. I think you could make the argument that the Lions are the better team, right? Like I think that's a fair conclusion. But I'm just saying strictly in this game, right? If we're looking at it from like a more overarching, analysis of who the Lions are, who the Packers are, who the Chiefs, the Ravens, it's a fair bet to say that the Lions are a top team in the NFL or the top team in the NFL. But when I'm looking at it more on the Lions versus the Packers, I don't watch this game and just think, oh my God, the Lions, man, they're just the Packers. They just can't keep up, man. They just can't keep up. No, it was lack of preparation and execution, right? One team was ready to play. You could even hear Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was like, you guys are saying that we can't play outside. Of course we can. We're built for this. And Jared Goff made a similar statement saying everyone said that we can only play in the dome, that we can only win one way. Of course that's not true. So they took this game. They took it as like everyone's saying that we can't win this game. Everyone is saying that we can't win outside in bad weather. And we're going to prove everyone wrong. They played like they had something to prove, whereas the Packers played like they were a team trying their best, and it just wasn't good enough. So I just think it's just I think it's just like a different situation entirely. So I'd love to, can't wait to see this rematch, to see the Packers hopefully just get healthy and stay healthy. And I'm not going to be so quick just to say Green Bay isn't on Detroit's level necessarily. I do think Detroit is on an incredibly high level, but I just think it's it's a little bit more it's not such a black and white answer, right? Like this whole segment was just pretty much like, the Packers are young, they're loose, they're this, they're that, and it's just like, okay, let's, the Ravens lost to the Raiders, okay, the Ravens lost to the Browns, like let's settle down here, okay? Let's calm ourselves. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love? Do you think it's clear that Green Bay isn't on Detroit's level? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.